Just your friendly neighborhood reminder that this is a multi-billion-dollar company producing this game, and these are problems that the PlayStation and N64 did everything they could to mask and make very convincing. The Switch is a lot more powerful than the N64 and PlayStation, so, yeah, this is kind of stupid. So, while playing through the game, I did not know about the whole terrestrializing still maintains stab on the other type that you changed off of. I thought that when you terrestrialize, you just changed your type and stab applied to that, as well as weaknesses. That's not how it works. You still get stab on the moves that you previously had, so him turning Sudowoodo from a rock type into a grass type, he still gets stab on rock type attacks, so my fire type just got completely shut down. Also, this was a misplay using Leech Seed. Grass types are immune to that type of move. But the point I'm really trying to get at here is certain types got massively gimped because of this. Fire is one of the ultimate ones because there are abilities that completely shut down fire type attacks. So, if you terrestrialize a Pokemon that has an ability that shuts down fire type attacks into a grass type and baits somebody into attacking them, guess what? You just get a bonus and one less weakness. Grass seems to be the one that most people use, but yeah. Fire type just got completely slammed. So I am glad to see that the Elite Four of this region are a bit more proactive around the region. You see them all over the place and, like, get to interact with them. In almost every generation before this, the Elite Four only show up at the end, and there's no build-up to them other than just, they're the best, so you've got to be ready for them. It's nice to see them interact with you in a more natural way, so you can kind of understand them as people and slowly build yourself to get ready to face them. They aren't just four named people that show up at the very end as the final test, with no mention of what they do or how they interact with people before that. So one aspect of the school I really want to praise and give credit to, I really like the fact that you're encouraged to revisit the school repeatedly throughout your adventure. Because new events get unlocked, you get to interact with people, talk with them, learn more. There's just a bunch of cool stuff. You can even take lessons and pass those to get a huge boost with inventory and stuff. It's just, in general, a nice touch that they really went out of their way to make this place a place that you really want to be in. Which is more than I can say about most places in Pokemon, where you visit them once, do the thing that you have to, and then never go back unless there's a key mechanic, like a breeding house, or a name raider, or a move, like, tutor. You never go back to most places once you're done in Pokemon. You want to go back here all the time in this game. It never stops. I'll be honest, before playing this game, I had never heard this word before in my life, so this actually taught me something new. It's kind of amazing. And yes, for those curious, the awkward pause is because I actually looked it up on my phone. Okay, so the Titan Pokemon. I have a lot to unpack with these guys because there's a couple of design choices for these guys I'm not a big fan of. For starters, I love the concept of fighting a giant-sized Pokemon that's way more threatening than anything else you've seen at this point. This concept alone is fantastic and works really well in the world of Pokemon. Encountering these giant behemoths that you have to beat just feels cool. There's a number of problems with them, though. Firstly, they don't display their level while you're exploring the overworld, so you can end up encountering these guys at lower level than expected and getting completely smashed. Many people may remember that I mentioned that one of the things in open world games is that you can face against enemies that you have no chance against, and that's what makes them interesting. The problem is, these guys disable your run command, and you can't use Pokédolls to escape from them. So if you encounter them and you're underleveled, that's a lost cause. You can't win. There's nothing you can do unless you get super lucky. So that's just bad design. In addition, you can't catch these things, so all you have to do is just knock them out, leading to them just feeling like one of those big boss events that are supposed to stand out. But the other problem with that is that they are not scaled. So Klawf here, for example, is always at level 16. If you're higher than level 17, he will go down in like one hit. I even fight some of the Titans later on when I'm over-leveled for their point, as well as ones where there's no, like, way I even stand a chance, and you can see the point I'm making. There's no middle ground with these guys. Either you can take them and you're gonna have an easy fight, or you can't take them and you're wasting your time and just getting knocked out. Like, in other open world games, if you encounter a stronger enemy than you can handle, you can just leave and come back later. But if you do want to fight them, and you have the skill, you can still win. That's the difference. And this is the point where it's supposed to be like, oh no, he ate like the thing and became more powerful. But now you've also got Arven's support, so if you like completely slammed him earlier, it's even easier now because you've got another person acting as a threat for the boss, as well as usually using super effective moves. So this is even easier than it was before, and it's the same boss. He doesn't change at all, so I don't get this. It would be one thing if, like, the Herba Mystics actually, like, made him really strong so that you need Arven's support to help beat him, but it's the same exact fight. Like, he doesn't even get any new moves or anything. One thing I never realized until, like, late after I finished beating the game, you can actually give your Pokemon titles in this game by going to their status and scrolling all the way to the right. Most of these titles are obtained via, like, RNG. Some of them you get when you first catch them, others you unlock as the game progresses. One thing that's very interesting is that the Titan Pokemon all bestow titles to any Pokemon that you catch that are the same species as them. So, for example, once you've beaten Klawf, if you catch a Klawf, you can give it the title of the Once Titan Klawf. It's kind of interesting, but also kind of a system that is underutilized. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but the fact that most of the titles are unlocked by chance probably doesn't help it.
What was that? Ah! Nom 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 nom. That was delicious! Sandwich make me strong! Ha 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 ha!
So I will confess, I had planned to use Gallade from the start when I caught Ralts. Because I didn't want to have the situation where I potentially would be completely unable to ever find a Dawnstone, I did look up this one, because it's always in a set location. I didn't do this very often, but some things in this game are in very cryptic locations, so if you don't look them up, you're gonna potentially go the entire game being unable to use certain things because who knows where they are? And I guess that's part of the open world, is it's like, oh, you gotta find them, but yeah, like, no. The size of the world would make this a pain in the ass. For the rest of this episode, nothing really gets done, I realized. I just kind of run around, catch random Pokemon, and try to decide what I want for my team. So, this is probably an ideal spot to do, like, the first set of thought dumps on the new Pokemon, because there's really no better place for it than a spot where I'm not really doing anything. This isn't going to cover all the Pokemon yet, because there's way too many to cover, so this is just going to be as many as I can get done in this time frame, so I'll stop where I stop, and I'll continue the next time I have a blank, empty space where there's really nothing going on. So, yeah, here goes nothing. Sprigatito is fine. It's cute. It's got a simple design, so it works out pretty well. In general, I'm sure many people picked it just for the fact that it's a grass-type cat. Florigato, on the other hand, is pretty cool. I actually kind of like the design. I don't quite get the vine yo-yo that it has, but other than that, it's a pretty neat design in general. I kind of like this thing, honestly. I usually go for water starters, but this one made me kind of think about it a bit. Meow's Karada, on the other hand, just feels kind of weird. I mean, it kind of went from, like, a street performer to a magician, I guess it makes sense. It kind of reminds me a bit more of a phantom thief, and it's a dark type, so it's kind of bizarre. Like, I'm not sure how to feel about this one. Fuecoco is just weird to me. Like, I don't get the design, I don't get why it has a giant yellow square on its chest that just looks like a piece of processed cheese. It's just a bizarre, like, design in general. It's alright, but I don't know. This one doesn't really do anything for me. Crocolore is also kind of a weird one. I mean, it's alright. You look at it and you probably think, oh, it's got like a sombrero on its head. I guess that's kind of a reference to the environment, but at the same time, like, it's actually not. It's like a nest of energy with an egg in the middle of it. I don't really get it, but it's alright. Skeledirge, on the other hand, is pretty friggin' badass looking, and I realized afterwards, after looking at the design for a bit, that little fireball on the tip of its nose is actually a flaming bird that hatched from the egg I mentioned that was kind of weird about Crocolore, so that's good attention to detail. In addition, it mostly attacks with music that the firebird forms a microphone to let it speak with, so honestly, I kind of like this design. It's very interesting and very creative. I really enjoy this one. I've always been a fan of water starters. Quaxley isn't anything special, but it's still kind of adorable, so yeah, it's pretty good. Also, not too much to say about Quaxwell. It's just fine. Nothing really stands out about it, but it's alright. Quaquavel I didn't really like that much, but in battle, it reveals to be kind of like a peacock design and kind of like spreads out its tail feathers to give this like really imposing battle-ready design. It's kind of cool. In addition, kind of amusingly, apparently like these guys are rivals with Sereni. I don't even like, wow. Why though? But it's kind of funny. Don't got much to say about Lechonk in general, like, all I can say is hooray for meme culture. Though apparently, like, Lechonk is actually a double entendre referencing the Spanish word for piglet, so it's kind of clever, but at the same time, I just view this as just a meme. Like, it's a meme, it's a rat-a-tat. Oink Cologne, I really like the fact that both male and female forms have different designs. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of them. I really don't like that liquid under their eyes. It just kind of makes them look gross, in my opinion. But Otherwise, they work fine as the standard Rattata replacement. Like, every generation has one normal type that's just there, and probably nobody ever uses, but hey. Aroundula is alright. It's another spider. Unlike most of the other ones, this one is just pure bug, so it doesn't really stand out in any way. Like, it's okay. The design is fine. Same can really be said about Spidops. I mean, the only thing that makes it stand out is that it has a unique move in the form of Silk Trap, and apparently they spar with Scythers. Other than that, yeah, not really much else to say. The same can really be said about Nimble. Like, it does not stand out in any way. It's a little cricket, that's fine. Yeah, moving on. Lokix, on the other hand, is kind of awesome. First of all, being a bug dark type, it basically has switchblade legs that it can extend out. That's kind of creative and also kind of horrifying. Imagine a grasshopper jumping you with two legs that are as sharp as a knife. It's definitely an interesting design, I'll give it that, but wow. Honestly, if I wasn't the big Raichu fanboy that I am, I probably would have used Pawmi, because as far as the Pikachu clones go, being a electric fighting type is very unique, and honestly, I kinda like Pawmi in general. It's just a good Pokemon. Its evolutions are fantastic as well. Though I will admit, like, Pawmo is kinda just Pawmi, but slightly bigger. That's alright. But the funniest thing is the change that occurs between Pawmo and Pawmot. When you look at the initial glance, it just looks like these two are identical, aside from Pawmot having more hair. But it actually went from a 1'4" Pokemon to 2'11". In addition to that, Pawmot also gets a bonus in the fact that it's one of two Pokemon that can learn the highly broken move Revival Blessing. It's a free revive in your pocket. This thing is probably broken in Nuzlocke if you allow that to be used, but I kinda love it. I can't understand why this Pokemon in particular has that, though. It doesn't really have any reason to have that ability, but it definitely makes Pawmot unique, I'll give it that. Tandemaz is a weird one. On initial glance, it looks like it's just two cute little mice, but they're stuffed. They're like little teddy bear mice. In addition to that, they have one of the weirdest evolutions I've seen in a while. To get this thing to evolve, you have to get it to level 25 in battle. It can't level up naturally and evolve. It has to be used in battle. And it skips the evolution like cutscene, so you'll only notice that it's evolved when you actually check its stats after that. It is kind of funny how it evolves, though. They breed. They literally just breed. Mousehold is literally just Tandemaus, but they had kids. There's a chance of them being either a family of 3 or a family of 4. It's like a 1 in 100 chance, but they function pretty much identically. It's kind of clever and funny, but it's also really weird. But at the same time, they also get some unique abilities and moves, so I kind of like these things. They're kind of clever. The same cannot be said for Fido, which, ugh. Another meme pun, like, ugh. No, I don't like this thing. Dash Boond, on the other hand, is at least a little bit more clever, and its unique ability, Well-Baked Body, actually works pretty well. Even its design is slightly less annoying than, like, Fido, but at the same time, I mean, I much prefer Growlithe than some of the other dog Pokemon like Houndour, which are also in this region, so... More memes, more puns! Get it? Smoliv, because it's a small olive? Yeah, it's really funny. It goes well alongside Lechonk. These names totally aren't gonna age poorly. Whereas I mostly make fun of Smoliv for just being a meme name, Dolliv is just here. I don't really have anything to say about it. It's okay, but its design isn't exactly anything outlandish or strange. It's just a decent grass type. That's the best way I can sum it up. Arboliva, on the other hand, oh my god, that's a bit of a tongue twister, is just kind of an interesting grass type. Its unique ability, Seed Sower, is kind of interesting. It basically adds grassy terrain whenever you take damage. It's It's an interesting Pokemon, I'll give it that. Its design is also kind of neat, so I kind of like it. It's good. Squawkabilly, meanwhile, is just a parrot with a pompadour, and for that I kind of love it. They come in 4 different plumages. They kind of appear in different areas depending on it, which is kind of funny. What is cool about different plumages of Squawkabilly, though, is that depending on the color you get, depends on the hidden ability they have. Green and blue will have guts, whereas yellow and white will have sheer force, which it's a nice attention to detail. I like that. So anyone who makes fun of the Vanillux line while also liking Knackley, you're kind of a hypocrite. Because Vanillux is an ice cream cone, that's kind of silly, but this thing is literal salt. So, it's the same. I give it a good pun for being rock salt, but it's still salt. It's still literally salt. Same thing can be said about Knacklestack, but this thing is considerably more creepy because apparently it sprays salt on Pokemon to, like, dry them out, and then it drinks the water from their body. That's... ugh. Sometimes the Pokedex entries are just freaking creepy, man. Luckily, Garganackle is a little less doom and gloom. It apparently produces salts from its fingertips and uses those salts to cure things, so it sprinkles salt on you and your injuries magically vanish. These Pokemon are the only ones that can learn Salt Cure. Charcadet is awesome. Like, of all the Pokemon added in this generation, I think this one is one of my favorite designed of the bunch because, like, it's like a little pawn ready to fight. Kind of similar to B-Sharp, except that it's fire type and it's just really creative. I kind of like this warrior design. Like, it's not overly designed. It's not trying so hard to be something it's not. It's just a little fire warrior, and that's kind of cool. Armarouge is a Pokemon that I probably would have loved to use, but it's unfortunately Scarlet exclusive, so I couldn't get it. In order to get it, you have to use the Auspicious Armor on Charcadet, which can only be obtained in Scarlet. It's a Psychic Fire type, and it uses its armor as both self-defense and as a gun. That's kind of awesome. Many people have joked about how, like, Charcadet's evolutions look like Mega Man Battle Network characters. Armarouge definitely fits that bill. It's literally using its armor as an arm cannon. Like, it gets 2 unique moves, Expanding Force and Armor Cannon, which are both stab and both look really good. Like, it's just a cool friggin' design in general. Like, come on. While I do think that Armarouge's design and type are cool, I do think that the Violet exclusive evolution for Charcadet, Ceruledge, is even better. It evolves with the Malicious Armor, which can only be obtained in the Violet version, making it Violet exclusive. But man, oh man, like, the signature move, Bitter Blade, this thing gets just shreds things apart. Like, Armarouge is cool and all, but Ceruledge basically became one of my mainstays of this game. Like, it's just such a cool Pokemon design. Like, it's a ghost sword that's ignited with bitter hate for its enemies. Like, come on! Like, the Honedge line was awesome, but this is just cool, man. Part of me kind of likes how derpy Tadbulb looks, but at the same time, nothing really stands out about it. Like, it's just silly looking, and I kind of like it for that. Bellibolt's design, on the other hand, just completely throws me off after it was pointed out to me. Those giant, like, eye-looking things on the side of its head, those aren't its eyes. The 2 little yellow slits above its smile are its eyes. When you look at it that way, it just looks bizarre. And yeah, it's such a derpy design, which is kind of why it works. I just kind of question why, like, it's not a water electric type. Like, it's a tadpole or a frog. Like, Latrell is an interesting, like, it's an electric flying type that isn't Emolga or Zapdos, so that's kind of neat. From a small electric bird to a big electric bird, it's the same thing. It's just better in every way. You know how this goes. Design at least isn't overly complicated to the point where it gives you a headache. There is good simplicity in this generation's designs, which I like. Some of them are overly designed, some of them are simple, and it works out. Mastiff is just honestly a Pokemon where I struggle to come up with anything to describe it. Like, the design is fine, but I don't really see myself using just a pure Dark type when there's better dual types with the Dark type associated with them, so it's kind of redundant in my opinion. Mastiff at least gets an arc in this game, and its design is kind of awesome. I love how it has, like, the big, sad, soulful eyes. And plus its ability, Guard Dog, counters Intimidate, which is actually kind of cool. We needed an ability like that. It kind of sucks that it's only on Mastiff. But, once again, there's nothing wrong with it. I love the design with the big, like, sad eyes on it. Shroodle and its evolution are unique in that they're poison normal types, but the design of this thing, like, I hate this thing's design. It just looks so, like, gross and overly, like, ridiculous. Like, I'm not a big fan of this thing. It just bugs me. From an overly sized nose with poison snot dripping out of its face, we get an actual kind of cool lemur Pokemon that uses Graffiti as its primary method of attack. I actually kind of like Graffiti. Interestingly enough, when I first saw it from the Nintendo Direct that we got a while back, I honestly thought it was like a firefly. Its ears were positioned in a way that made them look like wings, and I thought for a while that it was kind of a cool design, like a bug that can fly and spreads graffiti around, but it's a lemur, which is still really cool. I like that design too. Bramblin is a possessed tumbleweed with eyes. Like, this gives Corsola a run for its money, but you know what? It's still better than Ice Cube. Bramblegast at least has the, like, decency to put on a funny smile because it knows it's silly. And there's a Sticker Brush Symphony joke to be made here. On initial glance, Toedscool and its evolution probably just feel like more Gen 1 pandering. But at the same time, I do strongly believe that this is a strong reference to the fact that animals in real life adapt to environments and evolve to survive in that environment. That's kind of what Toedscool and Toedscruel are kind of a reference to. Say it with me now, giant enemy crab! Like, Klawf is really silly, but I do like its ability Anger Shell, it's very unique, but yeah, it's a giant enemy crab. It's a giant enemy crab! Capsakid is a Kappa, which we already had Lombre to do that, but I do have to say, Grass Fire type is way more interesting than Grass Water type. Scovillain, meanwhile, is a very clever, like, design Pokemon. First of all, its name is based on the Scoville scale, which is the measurement for red hot pepper categories. In addition to that, it's a double-headed Hydra, which is really cool. I kind of like this design. Rellor only cares about rolling that mud ball, so that's really the only thing I can give it. Rabska is actually kind of interesting. It's a bug psychic type. Similar to Pawmot, it's the only other Pokemon that learns Revival Blessing. Interestingly, both Pawmot and Rabska evolved from their previous forms by walking with the trainer for 1,000 steps. That's strangely specific for these two Pokemon. I mean, it looks like a baby chick, but it's actually a psychic type. Flittle's design bewilders me. It has so much going on, and you can't easily really tell what it's supposed to be until it evolves. Espathra, on the other hand, is a really, really neat design Pokemon. It's basically an ostrich, and its special ability, Opportunist, is kind of terrifying. It matches any stat boost you give your Pokemon, so if you buff yourself, this thing is gonna make you pay for that. Like, it's kind of an amazing psychic type. I wish more Pokemon had abilities like this. That's kind of cool. Tinkatink also works pretty well. It's kind of an adorable fairy type. All female. Doesn't really stand out in any way, but when it evolves, Tinkatuff is just a badass. That's the only way you can describe it. It literally goes and beats the shit out of Poniards and Bisharps with that big mallet it has, and that's kind of awesome. I'll give it credit for just being that strong. But then it evolves again, and
That's it. I'm getting me mallet.
Have you ever wondered why, unlike in Galar, Paldea uses the squawk abilities to carry you from place to place in the flying taxi? It's because of these things. Tinkaton just, like, hits rocks into the sky to knock Corviknights out of the sky. Because apparently they use the metal that Corviknights and B-Sharps have on their bodies to build the hammer that they have. And a little bit of funny lore about that is that the shiny version of Tinkaton doesn't change color at all. It's just the hammer that changes colors. That's actually kind of brilliant. I really like this design. It's more clever than it looks. Wiglet and Wugtrio, on the other hand, are basically just the same exact idea as Toadstool and Toadsucruel. They are just a Kanto Pokemon, but instead of being their standard, they evolved in a different way, which is fine, but not that interesting. Although I do like the fact that these guys are really big, because it's kind of that joke that, oh, Diglett is secretly gigantic underground. It's kind of funny and clever.
Alright, you guys, you heard the Duke. Total and complete annihilation. Bombs away!
So one thing I am very glad to see is that they finally made a dolphin Pokemon. Finizen and Palafin are both really nice designs. They are virtually identical, as you can see. The left is Finizen, the right is Palafin. But that's because Palafin has a special gimmick associated with it. When you switch it out of battle and put it back in, he sheds his mild-mannered disguise and becomes Superfin, the ultimate savior of dolphin kind. And no, he is not a common harbored porpoise. He's a bottlenose dolphin.
The common harbor porpoise has an abrupt snout, pointed teeth, and a triangular thoracic fin, while the bottlenose dolphin, or Tursiops truncatus, has an elongated beak, round cone-shaped teeth, and a serrated dorsal appendage. I'm sure you already knew that.
Just wanted to add to this, but truth is I've been waiting years for them to release a dolphin Pokemon just so I can use this clip.
Snowflake. Here, Snowflake. I've got a little snack for you.
And this is where I'm going to stop the first, like, thought dump on the Pokemon. I'll continue in the next frame where I don't have anything going on, but yeah. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you like some of the Pokemon I don't like, or dislike some of the Pokemon I like, that's perfectly fine. We're all different. So, I'll see you all next time. This episode's gonna wrap up pretty soon, so yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.